Norwegian and Sioux Indian, and he was raised street tough, and he's just a tough individual. He's probably one of the toughest guys I've ever known.
Defense, and just when you had a 6-7-year-old that was still a mama's boy, and you get some 6-7-year-old that comes in there that's that absolutely is smarter than the rest of these 6-7-year-olds, no mama boy whatsoever, like Greg was, well then he's way ahead of the game to start out with.
We all pitched in together. We couldn't have never made it otherwise.
The most important thing was to have faith. I mean, we just had a lot of hard times, but we stuck together. I mean, the bond that we have through it all. And, like I've said before, it's not where we came from, it's where we're going.
And I'm back, boys.
Greg Haugen was nicknamed Mutt as a young boy because of his small size and the fact that he could never stay out of fights. He was one of those rare boxers that was born to fight. At the age of 3.5, he came home in tears because a neighbor kid had bit him on the back. His father told him he was tired of him always coming home crying and said, "You go out there and fight back, or next time you come home crying, I'll give you something to cry about." Greg then went out and beat up the kid who bit him. Growing up as the second oldest in a family of 6 children, Haugen would face tough times when his father left the family when Greg was only 8 years old. "It was tough," Haugen said. "We just had the bare necessities, and I mean the bare necessities." His father would become an attorney in El Cajon, California, while his mother worked 2 jobs in a restaurant and bar to keep the family going. Meanwhile, Haugen would join the amateur boxing ranks at the age of 5, receiving his training by a truck driver and town barber named Jim Montgomery at the Auburn Elks Boxing Club. But the sport would not keep the young Haugen out of trouble, as at the age of 14, Haugen would be sent to a Seattle juvenile home for fighting and riding in a stolen car. He would be expelled by Auburn High School, then drop out of school completely by his junior year, needing to help out his mother financially. Haugen would continue his amateur career until moving with his sister Pam to Alaska in 1981. Once there, he would find work installing furnaces because, quote, "they were in pretty big demand when it's 40 below." He would also compete in tough man contests at the Gussie L'Amour Saloon in Anchorage. Haugen would earn $300 a fight for 3 2-minute rounds. "The biggest guy I faced was a guy named Jeff Rush," Haugen said. "He was 195 pounds, and I weighed 135. They called him the Yukon Crusher. He was tough for the first round or 2, but then he ran out of gas. He wasn't much trouble after that." Haugen would go 24-0 against the Arctic's tough men, all of whom weighed significantly more than him. He would turn professional in Alaska, then return home to Washington, where he would sign with Seattle boxing trainer and manager George Chimaris. Chimaris had been in the sport for over 30 years, developing his own esoteric code words, which he taught Haugen. Paintbrush meant throw an underhanded jab. Yo-yo meant bob up and down. Cherry meant throw 3 jabs like picking cherries from a tree. Bulldog meant push the other guy back. How do you do meant dip at the waist and throw a left hook. Laporte was to imitate former featherweight champion Juan Laporte's technique of throwing a left uppercut. Haugen would earn passing marks early in his career, gaining a following in Seattle as the fans would chant the nickname of Mutt to cheer him on. In 1984, Haugen would have one of many arguments and separations with trainer Chimaris. He would move back to Alaska with his wife, kids, dog, and a cat. "I had a chance to make it," Haugen said, "but most people would have said it wasn't much of a chance for a tough, slow white kid from Auburn. That was the tag they put on me. All I had was a chance. I worked my butt off to get everything I had." Haugen's coming out party would be against ESPN favorite Chris Calvin on November 6, 1985, and his road to the lightweight championship began.
We'll see just how much when this fight continues. Calvin with the left hand. Both these fighters are, the right hand already. Haugen's hurt. The right hand hurt Greg Haugen. Calvin has tremendous power in that right, and Greg Haugen just felt it. Boy, that didn't take long. Let's see if Haugen can weather this storm, Sonny. No, for Calvin, that's been the case so far. He's had no trouble hitting Greg Haugen. Good right by Calvin on the inside. Chris really didn't have much sparring for this fight. Very little. Calvin a couple times. Left hook gets in by Chris. And in this second round, this fought a little more even pace. Good straight right by Haugen. So Greg Haugen starts to get his combinations going. We return for round 3, and Greg Haugen comes out smashing. He says, hey, I'm going to give you a little of what I took, Chris. And he stands a good left hand. Haugen in the blue, Chris Calvin in the gray. Fight that much on the inside.
Well, they're not giving away too much room right now. They're content to stay inside.
Right hand by Calvin. As this fight progresses, he's landed about 3 or 4 pretty good rights. Haugen's still standing.
As I said, he said earlier, Al, he had a pretty good chin. Right now, it's true.
Action. Approaching the halfway point, lightweight action, and Chris Calvin comes out very strong here in the 5th with a 3-punch combination. He did that in the 4th, and then things slowed a bit in both geography and culture, I think. Haugen nailing Calvin with a good right hand, gets some support from this Western crowd, moves in.
And he got Calvin moving away. Calvin began to get down the bicycle and get back from that.
This is not known as a guy who likes to fight going backwards. Either fighter is being knocked out as a row.
Good left hook to the head of Haugen from Calvin.
Chris Calvin trying to end that string for Haugen. Oh, left hand by Greg Haugen on the inside. Both fighters have gotten the attention of the other with some shots. Remember in the first round where Calvin nailed Haugen with a right hand right off the bat, put his punches together using the jab as a good weapon. A little more movement from Haugen now. Moving at angles, and there he lands an overhand right against Calvin.
And it looks as though Calvin felt that punch, Al. He looks a little stunned from that punch.
He may be weary. And that right hand hurt Chris Calvin. I believe it's in the left hand. Greg Haugen now has Calvin in some trouble. He's got him down and nearly out of the ring. A left hook sent Calvin down. Calvin's eyes look bleary. Davey Pearl keeps counting. He just beats the count. Calvin says yes, he's okay, but we'll see.
He says yes, but his legs say no, Al. He's on wobbly legs.
Haugen may be ready to pull a giant upset. Chris Calvin in all kinds of trouble, a right hand. Haugen has Calvin reeling. Greg Haugen came from nowhere here in this round. A big right hand hurt Calvin. Long time to go in the round. Well, a half a minute anyway, long enough. It stops. Davey Pearl says he's seen enough. Greg Haugen has pulled the upset. If it was a mild upset in beating Freddie Roach, it's a major upset in beating Chris Calvin.
By December of 1986, Haugen was undefeated in 18 fights in a lightweight division that had 3 champions in Hector Camacho, Edwin Rosario, and Jimmy Paul. Haugen would face Paul for his IBF title, and he believed that the defending champion was the best of the 3. The still underestimated Haugen came into the fight as a 4-1 underdog.
Short with all his punches, Tim. He just is not reaching Haugen with his punches. And Haugen really gives you the illusion of coming forward. He's not just walking in. That's why Jimmy Paul's punches are short. You see the kid just take that little half step back. Paul just hit him with a good right hand. Yes, he did. And the kid laughed.
Talking to him now, Haugen.
Well, he thinks he's in the tough man contest.
Come on out, come on out, come on out.
Good combination by Greg Haugen. Again, that work ethic. He may have hurt Jimmy Paul, Tim.
Yes, he did. Paul looking a little confused here, looking at the referee, Davey Pearl. Trying to
jumping in, banging with punches, and getting back out without having to pay at all. He's tired. Will this late rally by Jimmy Paul even it up? Now Paul is trying to fight. Before he'd allow Haugen to tie him up.
Holding and hitting warning to Paul. Paul appear to be busy. 30 seconds to go. But again, on our cards, he is dominated over the fight. How the judges see it, they're different.
These last 3 rounds, it looks like Paul's going to win this round.
On my card, that only brings him to 5.
Well, and we had 4 close rounds, Jim. This is a tough one to score. I think Haugen did enough to win. Again, it's up to the judges.
Hit all over. 15 bruising rounds. Jimmy Paul's title defense against Greg Haugen. And will elate.
Judge Ed Levine scores 144, 141 for the winner by majority decision, and you, champion of the world, Greg Haugen.
This has got to be a tremendously exciting moment for you. You came into this fight a virtual unknown. I don't think too many people looking in on Showtime tonight outside of Auburn, Washington, maybe Anchorage, Alaska, and Las Vegas really know who you are. And here you are now, champion of the world. When's it going to sink in?
It's sunk in. A lot of hard work for this fight. I don't take nothing away from Jimmy. He's a hell of a champion. I fought my heart out, and I come in here knowing that I had to take the title from Jimmy. You know, it's not an easy job taking the title from the champion.
Well, there's your belt. Let's pull back if we can here and show that championship belt. Greg, how much of that experience in tough man contests do you think has contributed to your success? A lot of people would say, how can that be any kind of preparation for the pros? Mentally, it must have been something.
Oh, it was. I had a lot of experience up there. I fought a lot of tough guys. You know, it was survive for the fittest. I was fighting guys that weigh 195, and I had to stick and move to stay away from them. And, you know, I knew this fight was going to be a tough fight. I trained my heart out for this fight, and, you know, I was in the best shape of my life. I knew it was close. You know, and any time you fight a champion, you got to beat him decisively.
Well, Greg, you did a great job. Congratulations to you. Now one of the 3 lightweight champions in the world. What do you want next?
I don't care. Camacho, you know I'm there. Raging Rican. I'll knock him out.
All right.
Now a world champion, there was talk of a possible fight with a comebacking Ray Mancini. But instead, Haugen would journey to Rhode Island where he would take on local favorite Vinny Pazienza. Promoter Bob Arum warned against taking on Pazienza on his native soil, but Haugen's manager Wes Wolf wanted the more money that would come from taking on Pazienza in Rhode Island. "It's a license for suicide," Arum said. Still, Haugen remained confident. When asked if he ever fought anyone who had the freewheeling style of Pazienza, he replied, "No, I don't think so, except for when I was in the amateurs."
Side in Corpus Christi, and Greg Haugen has joined us from our NBC studio in Las Vegas at KVBC television. And Vinny and Greg have been very fond of each other, particularly the last couple of weeks as we are closing in on fight time. Vinny, let me start with you. Why are you and Greg going at each other? Great guns. Is there anything good that you can say about Greg Haugen?
Well, this all started out as a boxing match, but Greg Haugen wants to be a wise guy, and he turned it into a verbal feud. He don't deserve to hold the championship belt. He don't deserve that honor. He's just a street kid. He's a punk as far as I'm concerned, and I'm going to bring him back to reality. He can go back to fighting club fights on ESPN because that's where he belongs.
Well, Greg, off those nice words, what is your reaction?
Well, I just think Vinny's seen one too many Rocky films. I hope he's half as tough as he talks. We're going to find out. We'd be finding out today, but he made an excuse, and you know, we're not getting it on today. But June 7th, you know, we'll be there, and I just hope you're half as tough as your mouth is, Vinny.
Greg, believe me, I wish we could have got it on today because I'm ready, and I would have put you away today. But you should look at this as somewhat of a favor to you because you got 2 more weeks to hold on to that belt.
I should point out the fight was originally scheduled for this afternoon, but Vinny Pazienza suffered a broken nose. I know, Greg, you'll be staying away from that nose as a target. Is that correct?
Well, it was going to get broke either way. It'll get broke again.
Hey, Greg, you know, I respect you as a fighter. Believe me, you better be ready for a war because I'm in great shape. And unless you plan on getting knocked out, you better be ready to go 15 rounds. And if you do go 15, you better bring your bottle of Tylenol when it's over.
Well, this is something Daddy can't buy for you, Vinny, so it's going to be a different story.
Yeah, well, today's my father's birthday. I want to say happy birthday. And, Dad, I'll be giving you a belt this year for your birthday present. And it won't be the initials AP on it. There'll be IBF. That's a promise.
Well, I just hope your dad doesn't get too excited when he sees you laying face down on the mat.
Greg, when you come to Rhode Island, I got a little something for you. See these? They're suspenders. And I'm going to give these to you so your pants don't fall because you're going to be leaving without the belt. You understand?
Vinny bringing props. Greg, a final word from you.
Well, you know, like I said, we're going to see, Vinny. I hope you're half as tough as you talk. And come June 7th, it will be a war. But you're not going to take my belt. And I'll tell you that right now. You're going to have to go back to watching Rocky movies with Daddy.
Talking attempted by Pazienza. Watch this at the end of round 1. Pazienza and Haugen giving each other a facial nose-to-nose. On to round 2.
Haugen will do anything to get to that fragile nose of Vinny Pazienza. But he just got nailed right then. Did Pazienza. Haugen nailed him with 2 punches in the crowd. Ooh.
Pazienza did not have the full effect. Haugen saying, no, you're not bothering me. With Greg Haugen, which can be dangerous.
But he can afford to play away this last 30 seconds.
And Pazienza getting in with the right, winding up with a bolo punch. And caught Haugen with the left.
What a charge by Vinny Pazienza.
And Pazienza hearing it from the crowd as this 12th round comes to a close. But a wide range of opinions in terms of the scoring here at ringside as we check the media. Scoring on the 10-point must system. Pazienza is able to slip punches. Less than a minute to go. Round 13.
Pazienza showing some signs of weariness from that 3-round charge that he's been on.
Pazienza's left eye also closing. And that could turn things.
Pazienza's hand resting wearily on that top round. But he's not just a piece of fluff. He's a tough, tough kid.
And the same for Greg Haugen, who comes in as the IBF lightweight champ off the win over Jimmy Paul last December.
Haugen is virtually unmarked. Pazienza's back in command. Back comes the champion Haugen.
Pazienza succeeding with the uppercut.
It just may be the superior hand speed of Vinny Pazienza, putting in 2, 3, and 4 punches instead of one will win these rounds for him. But they're close because the meaningful punches are being landed by Greg Haugen.
And the 14th. So we will go to a 15th and final round. And we'll stay. Oh, late blow landed by Pazienza. He hit Haugen after the bell.
Vinny's faced a bloody mask now and a mask of exhaustion. Vinny is drawing a big breath from his mouth. He can't breathe through his nose. He can't see out of one eye. And on comes Vinny Pazienza.
And we are halfway through this final round. Greg Haugen defending his IBF lightweight crown. And a brawling conclusion.
Vinny too tired to take advantage.
Combination by Haugen. We're under a minute to go in the 15th. So it has come down to the final half minute. Greg Haugen and Vinny Pazienza. Strong finish by Pazienza. So they go the distance.
Judge Keith McDonald scores it 144 to 142 for the winner and new IBF lightweight title holder, Vinny the Tasmanian Devil Pazienza.
Greg Haugen. A disappointed Greg Haugen. Did you think you could win here in Providence?
Well, I thought I could. I thought the fight was real close, you know, but I didn't think they were going to give it to me on a close fight. You know, the kid fought a hell of a fight. He fought tough, and you know, I had trouble cutting the ring off on him. He ran a lot, but I'll give him a lot of credit. He's a tough kid. You know, I hope to have a rematch.
Did you think that he could maintain that pace through round 10 to 15? He seemed to pick up in action then.
Well, I didn't pick it up like I should have. You know, I had a little bit of a mental lapse. I should have listened to my corner a little more, and you know, I got caught up in the fans, and you know, he never really did hit me hard and hurt me. You know, and as you can see, he was missing a lot of punches. You know, you guys thought he was just going to punch the hell out of me.
You say he was you were caught up by the fans. Do the fans, do they influence you in a title fight?
Well, they obviously influence the judges. You know, I thought I had to rally back every time he rallied. And I thought I did good. You know, I thought I rallied back when he rallied. You know, I never really let him steal one round really big. You know, but I fought a tough fight, and so did he. I give my heart out. So
it was indeed a very tough fight and a great disappointment for you. I'm sure it was a fight that was so close that all of ringside had it most for you and most for Vinny. You couldn't tell which was which, and so disappointed Greg Haugen. There'll be other days, and back to Marv Albert at ringside.
After the loss to Pazienza, Haugen would reunite with old trainer George Chimaris. "We couldn't get along because we were so much alike," Haugen said. "You had an old stubborn billy goat and a young stubborn billy goat trying to work with each other." But Chimaris complained that Haugen couldn't keep gym appointments and sometimes didn't show up at all. Meanwhile, Haugen's now former trainer, Stan Tischler, stated that Haugen was ruining his career by breaking his contract. "I'd be surprised if we ever hear of Greg Haugen again," Tischler said. Tischler had drawn criticism when he didn't know what round it was when they rang the bell for the 15th round in the Pazienza fight. 8 months after their first encounter, Haugen would get a rematch with Pazienza at the Convention Center in Atlantic City. Pazienza's manager Lou Duva vowed that the only belt Haugen would receive would be his own. Good, Haugen replied, looking at Duva's large belly. I can use it to tow my car. Greg's mother would watch from her lucky stool at the Rail Tavern in Auburn, where she tended bar, chain-smoking one Winston Light after another. She would cheer on her son, who was a 7-5 underdog, but this go-around, having the 73-year-old Chimeras in his corner would make a difference. I've studied tape of their first fight back and forth, Chimera said. I know what Greg has to do to beat Vinny.
He says that the extra flamboyance, hot dog style, he gets shot by Haugen, doesn't take away energy from him. Many feel that it will, though, depletes him.
Well, the one thing he did right now, pushing off on Haugen.
His nose is bleeding. He's holding onto the ropes. That's illegal. Can't do that, but he does it frequently, Pazienza.
Nose is really starting to go now. Also, I noticed he's having trouble breathing, and he's having a swelling over his right eye. Because you can't breathe, he blows his nose, and the swelling gets bigger. Shot, and Pazienza's been running into that jab.
They're talking to each other. Haugen taunting him now as more blood appears in the face of Pazienza.
Well, they didn't do too much lip service before this fight, but they're doing it in the ring. Plus fighting a heck of a fight.
You think they were at least knocked out by now. That's not the case. There's the jab you talked about, the very effective jab with the left hand of Greg Haugen.
Worse, and I think it's going to bother his breathing.
Haugen smiling, laughing at him. Taunt again. So Greg has got a lot to say with both hands and with his mouth.
But he was
so
saying,
far he's backing it up with his mouth.
He was saying it before the fight, Don. He was telling us he's going to punish him. He's going to beat him up. He's really mad at him. Because he's the challenger, and the other guy he's claimed has got his job.
No question, Haugen here on a mighty important mission to him. Good hard right coming in. He caught him coming in. Haugen did. Pazienza shakes that off, keeps on coming. He's back to the brawl that people wanted to keep him out of.
Vinny just got his left eye cut also. From that right hand, it could have been a butt. That's why I don't like that wrestling and grabbing. Perez should control that because these youngsters are going to really open each other up with the head.
His face there above the eye, just bumping on the shoulder of Greg Haugen midway in this round. So Vinny, to put it simply, is a mess. And there is constant pounding now from both sides. The ends all over Haugen, sensing he did hurt him earlier with a good left to the body. Trying to build upon that. Been equal to him in terms of any strategy Pazienza wants to initiate. Cut now up beside the eye, side of the head of Pazienza, the nose of course bleeding.
No, I think Pazienza has a cut on his head also. Yes. That's from the banging of heads. Pazienza's got nailed a heck of a right hand counter, and it really hurt. Now I think blood's coming from his left ear. They're both going downstairs.
30 seconds to go in the 14th. How can they possibly keep up this pace? Unbelievable display by two superbly conditioned boxers who want this championship so desperately.
Police truck. I got that. Right here. Listen, you can go non-stop. He wants to quit. You've hurt him so fucking bad. He's ready to quit, Greg. He's ready to quit. Let's stop him in this year run. Ready? Go non-stop.
Just go non-stop. Similarities. Pazienza's nose broken early. Breathing troubles developing early. Eyes getting puffy. They can rest. 15 furious rounds completed here. Vinny Pazienza determined to keep the championship, and Greg Haugen even more determined.
And Judge Lynn Carter scores it 145 to 140 for the winner and new IBF lightweight champion, Greg Haugen.
It was fun. The guy just don't quit coming. You know, I thought in the 12th round I had him hurt. hitting him with good body shots. He just, he kept reaching down. He kept coming back.
That's got to be frustrating when you think you got something going. As you say, he keeps coming back.
Well, you know, my heart goes out to the kid. He's tough. We had a major war the first fight. And I think we had a major war this time, but I think I proved no doubt that I'm one of the 2 top lightweights in the world.
May not be the best time to ask you, but would you consider another war with this guy?
No. This guy's tough, man. Why fight so many tough fights? I mean, you know, there was a lot of bad things said before the fight, but there was a lot of pre-fight hype. My heart goes out to the kid. He's tough.
Now a 2-time champion, Haugen would not have an opportunity to rest on his laurels. Only 2 months later, his manager would have him back in the ring against the tough Miguel Santana. The fight would take place at the Tacoma Dome in Haugen's native Washington and would attract a state record crowd of over 7,000 people. But Haugen would be flat throughout the fight, as he felt he didn't have adequate time to recover and train properly. Santana turned the bout into a foul fest, hurting Haugen with low blows and headbutts. One headbutt would open a large gash over Haugen's right eye. Referee James Cassidy would stop the fight and initially raise Santana's arms in victory, not knowing that the bout would have to go to the scorecards in the case of an accidental headbutt. After over 30 minutes of confusion, the scores were announced and Haugen would be declared a technical decision winner. 6 months later, Haugen would journey to Denmark and take out the undefeated Gert Bo Jacobsen in 10 rounds. 4 months after that, Haugen would defend his belt against Olympian Pernell Whitaker. Once again coming in as a 3-1 underdog, Haugen would be shut out over 12 rounds and lose his title belt. Haugen looked so bad that when he returned home to Auburn, some of his friends asked if he tanked the fight for money. "I was lethargic," Haugen said. "I just didn't have it." Haugen would take off a year from the ring. Negotiations fell through for bouts against Edwin Rosario and Roger Mayweather. He would return in March of 1990 against 21-year-old Mexican policeman Memo Cruz, earning only $7,000 for his effort. "I've been down and I've been up," Haugen said. "Up is better." In August of 1990, he would get another fight against Vinny Pazienza. "About half an hour before the fight, I went to the men's room," Haugen said. "Pazienza and 3 of his goons followed me in there and started pushing me around. This one guy, Mike Quinn, he's a Mr. USA bodybuilder, and I told him to keep his steroid monkey hands off me." But the incident riled Haugen so much that he went into the ring wanting to knock out Pazienza, forgetting his game plan of jabs, jabs, and more jabs. Pazienza would flip the script on Haugen. Instead of adopting an aggressive fighting style which got his nose broken in their previous encounters, he got on his bicycle and forced Haugen to lead.
In the corner of Haugen, 75-year-old George Samaras, who also used to train Eddie Cotton, said, "Double up, triple the jab. Vinny's getting tired. Now step it up." And shortly he is doing that.
That's not that uncommon with Vinny.
Oh, nice right hand, sneak right hand by Pazienza. He's been peppered.
The 3 judges at ringside are all from New Jersey, and it's a 10-point must system. The referee has no judging in this fight whatsoever.
No mean feat when it comes to Vinny Pazienza.
And Pazienza's nose, to this point, not broken. Haugen making a comeback, but it's way too late.
Judge Eugene Grant has it at 97-93. All for the winner, the Tasmanian Devil, Vinny Pazienza.
The loss seemed to dim Haugen's stature in the sport, but trainer George Chamaris noticed that his fighter became a better listener as he finally realized that he didn't have that many shots left. In February of 1991, Haugen was brought in as an opponent for the undefeated 38-0 Hector Camacho. The odds opened at 8-1 for Camacho, and by fight time it had increased to 10-1. But the predictions of the press and fans didn't faze Haugen. "I've got news for all these experts," Haugen said. "I'm going to win." Haugen trained as if it were going to be his last hurrah. He would run 5 to 6 miles a day, spar 10 to 12 rounds daily, all the while Camacho would weigh 154 pounds only 3 weeks before the bout.
Camacho's difficulties in making weight create a tremendous opportunity for him to outfight Camacho based on stamina and conditioning, as you said, Larry. For the Macho Man. And Haugen goes down from a solid right-hand counter. 45. Haugen trying to dig to the body. Might be. Stranger things have happened in Las Vegas than a Greg Haugen decision here.
I think it would be a pretty good idea for Camacho to win this round if he wants to win this fight. Harold Letterman and I disagree on that.
FREDDIE is wasting a lot of seconds here, and now Camacho decides to begin the aggression. FREDDIE takes a point away from Camacho in what could be a monumental turn of events. If this fight is close, that's a big moment.
Jim, I missed it. What happened? Why did he do that?
I don't know why FREDDIE was holding the two fighters apart, but he wasn't allowing them to start, and Camacho got impatient and went ahead and hit Haugen 3 or 4 times. And Carlos FREDDIE just took a point away from Hector Camacho. In the next minute and a half to make it pay off. With a wildly enthusiastic crowd behind him. And Camacho gets in one more blow to the chest after the bell.
Art Laurie scores the belt, 114 to 113 for the winner by split decision here at Caesar's Palace. And new captain, Greg
Haugen. Merchant with Greg Haugen.
All right, Greg, your battle plan seemed to work. You tell us about it. Why did you win this fight?
Well, I knew he took me lightly. He wasn't in condition. Macho time's over. You know, I knew if I trained hard and I could fight my fight. I think I've only lost one fight, really, and that's to Whitaker, the undisputed lightweight champion, and he's a great fighter. You know, I knew if I trained hard and he took me light, I was going to win the fight.
What specifically did you do, do you feel, that turned this fight around?
I was just focused. I wanted this belt. I wanted to beat Camacho, be the first one. Here's my wife. I just worked hard. I worked so hard for this fight, harder than I've ever worked.
Haugen would be champion for only a month, as the WBO would strip him of the title when he tested positive for marijuana after the victory. He would be fined a record $25,000 in order to perform 200 hours of community service. Haugen would later admit that he had a marijuana habit for over 15 years and was ordered to go to drug counseling. He was to be honored by the town mayor at the Auburn Youth Center, but the festivities were canceled after the positive marijuana test. 3 months later, Haugen would rematch Camacho. The bout seemed to be a replay of their first encounter.
Haugen steps in with a left hook to the body. It was very effective for him in the first fight. Okay. Throughout the first bout, Hector Camacho would throw the jab and step back. Tonight, over and over, George, he's been coming in behind it.
He's staying within that middle of the ring, and he's taking over. The one thing you don't let a boxer do. Haugen, he's landing good body shots, but he needs points at this point. He needs to be getting some points in there. Haugen is still capable of getting a knockout at any time.
Greg Haugen told us he practiced throwing upwards of 200 punches in a round. In
good right hand by Haugen.
Yeah, it was a good right hand, George. He's only thrown 50 punches around here tonight.
Another good right hand by Haugen, along with a Camacho shot.
Haugen starting to do some damage.
And Camacho decided to hold on for a while because he's hurt.
Haugen talking to him through the mouthpiece. Trying to get under Hector's skin. He wants him to keep coming at him.
He's hurt. Hector Camacho is hurt. He's going to hold as often as he can.
Has been effective for Camacho.
Great round.
1 point. He's got 1 point. 1 point. 1 point. Well, it's becoming a tradition, isn't it? The 1 point deduction from Hector Camacho late in the fight.
Once again, the instigator, Haugen, has somehow goaded Camacho into doing something that cost him a point. You could see him mouthing there. And Camacho takes a shot after the bell, and the referee has taken a point away from Camacho. And the way this fight is going, once again, that can be a vital point in the first fight in the last round. He's trying to win the last round. He doesn't want this to be any closer than it has to be.
Two great fighters.
We've got 2 minutes of drama left. Crowd comes to its feet. And here comes Haugen. Right hand and the left by Haugen. Camacho staggers to the ropes. Both fighters are exhausted.
And we have a split decision. Bert Clements scores the bout 115 to 112.
Hector Camacho has left the ring. First judge scores it.
Tucker scores the bout 115 to 112. He has it for Hector Camacho. And Dave Moretti scores the bout 114 to 113 for the winner by split decision, Hector Macho.
On the nose.
Hector Camacho must have thought that he was about to get the short end again. He left the ring and went halfway to the dressing room.
Were you surprised in the early rounds by the way Camacho fought you? And was that the difference in the fight?
Well, I wasn't really surprised. I think he was conserving energy. I thought I won the fight in the later rounds. All he did is hold. The fucking referee didn't do nothing. He did a shitty job. I mean, the guy held me 20 times, and the referee said, "Quit holding, Hector, quit holding." He never once ever did anything about it.
But he gave you a point for a little.
So what?
All right, but let's talk about.
Holding. He was tired. He didn't want to fight.
Let's talk about the fight. In the first fight, you won many of the early rounds. You seemed to surprise him. In this fight, he built up his lead in the early rounds. What was the difference?
Well, I don't know. It depends on who's judging the fight. I don't think he built up an early lead, but I thought the rounds were close. It's a split decision. That's 2 times. You think Dubas will give me a rematch? I doubt it. Okay.
Haugen would earn $1.2 million in a disputed loss. The 2 fights on HBO also elevated him back into relevancy, as he was now in talks to have big money fights against Camacho again or Julio Cesar Chavez. But a comebacking Ray Mancini would answer the call to face Haugen. The fight was dubbed Tough Guys Don't Dance and was not without controversy, as Mancini had not been in the ring for over 3 years, concentrating on his acting career. When asked why Mancini would want to fight him, Haugen replied, "He's a starving actor, a part-time fighter, and a full-time jackass. He's acting like a fighter. It's just an act."
More of those. Look at that right.
All arm punches from Ray. Nothing on those punches. Just not getting any leverage into him.
You get the feeling you're watching Dorian Gray.
Well, obviously.
And I never knew what his fight record was.
Haugen performing very well in there. They've done an excellent job with the end swell of keeping the left eye of Mancini from closing completely.
And conversely, Haugen's cut between his eyes is of no significance at all.
Well, it's become a little ugly here in round 7. Not a lot of... big
Good,
right.
There's a right.
This fight will probably be over. I don't know if Ray is going to be able to continue. No. He's up. Oh, he's very wobbly, yes. The fight is stopped appropriately, and Greg Haugen has ended it here in the 7th. 3 rounds after he thought he might.
The performance put Haugen back on the radar, specifically as a potential opponent for the fighter considered pound for pound the best in the world, Julio Cesar Chavez. The bout was signed, and Haugen immediately badmouthed Chavez, calling him an overrated beaner who padded his record fighting drunken Tijuana taxi drivers. Promoter Don King reportedly embellished some of Haugen's quotes, stating that Haugen said he would sleep with Chavez's wife after he defeated him. Haugen never said that, but King wanted to sell tickets and rile up Chavez and his supporters. "I'm going to knock his head off," Chavez said. "I'll grab his head and shove it up his ass." Upon Haugen's arrival in Mexico City, both he and his entourage were given around-the-clock protection by 6 special agents of the Mexican police force. Over 132,000 spectators attended the show, with tickets as low as $1.65, which helped make it the largest live attendance in boxing history. It was also the only event where the boxing ring was surrounded by a moat and barbed wire. During the 200-yard walk from the dressing room to the ring, Haugen was doused with at least 10 cups of urine and coins thrown in his direction. Haugen would earn $1 million for his effort, but less than a month before the fight with Chavez, Haugen had learned that his wife had been involved romantically with one of his best friends. "It was one of those things where I was the last to know," Haugen said. "I was shattered." Distracted by his wife's infidelity, Haugen could not commit himself mentally to the Chavez fight. According to a Ring magazine article, both cocaine and vodka became a habit. "Before the fight, I knew I didn't have a chance," Haugen said. "I went out there in a daydream." Haugen would be floored in the first round before the bout would be called to a halt in the 5th. Haugen would remain out of the ring close to a year after the beating. In April of 1994, his estranged wife Karen would try to run him down in her car. But Haugen moved out of the way and she crashed into their garage door. She then backed up and tried to hit Haugen again, this time ramming the car through the kitchen wall. The car now lodged in the home, Karen would grab a gun from the front seat and point it at Haugen. The boxer would wrest the gun away from her as the police arrived. His wife would be held on $9,000 bail, but Haugen would have the charges dropped, not wanting any more problems for his children. He would be granted full custody and raise his kids as a single father. Looking for one final payday, Haugen would take on 2-division champion Tony Lopez in a crossroads battle of 2 veterans.
I guess. Well, to make comment on that, Harold, I was watching the fighters when they went back to the corner. Tony went back, kind of bouncing, sat down on the stool, very attentive. Greg was very slow back to his corner, very slow sitting down.
Tony Lopez not only very popular in the state of California and certainly in Sacramento where he's from, but also in South Africa. He's fought Brian Mitchell twice and Ding and Tobella. Very great fights.
James, he's starting to drop that right hand on Greg Haugen. In other words, he's coming over the top with it, he's bringing it down, and Greg Haugen's head just don't get out of the way. Look at that, he drops it on him, drops 2 on him, drops 3 on him, 4 on him.
Lopez pressing Haugen. Haugen loses his mouthpiece. He's hurt. And he's gone. He's down.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. action. He was counting. As soon as he got through counting, he said...
And Lopez closes out an outstanding go out.
I said that earlier. I didn't think he was going to make it to the round. He proved me wrong. That's just what a tremendous competitor he is.
Lopez.
He's ready to go now, though. He's ready to
knocks out the mouthpiece for a fourth time. That was not spit out by Haugen. It was knocked out once again. And Richard Steele calls time.
See, it's supposed to be a lull in the action. That was no lull. Tony was ready to drop for another right hand.
So that's the problem many have had with Richard Steele.
Well, I don't know if it's Richard. I think Richard's a tremendous referee. I'm just talking about that rule.
Exactly. The rule is not clear at all. It says a lull in the action. Ray was right. I didn't think there was a lull in the action either.
Man. Well, let's give Richard Steele a little credit. There hasn't been much lull in the action at all as the mouthpiece is knocked out for a fifth time. Lopez pounded away and it stopped.
Well, the question that I have is this the end of the line, or are we going to see more of Greg Haugen? Are you going to come back? It was an absolutely great fight. You did a great job. I know we'd all love to see you back. What's your feelings at this point, Greg?
I'm done. You know, I took a long time off, and, you know, I probably took too long off, but, you know, fighting a guy like Tony, you know, I don't have nothing to be ashamed of. But this will be my last fight.
Well, let me say this much to you. I thought you put on a great performance. You got the heart of a lion. We loved you throughout your career. Certainly you were a great champion, and you put on a great performance tonight. You left the fans here standing and cheering, and I know the folks at home all love you.
Well, thank you. I just wish I could have finished the fight on my feet, but Tony's a hell of a fighter, and I hope we wish him well in the future.
Haugen wouldn't retire, returning to the ring 6 months later. His name was mentioned as a possible opponent for a comebacking 43-year-old Alexis Arguello, but the legend would lose a decision in his first tune-up. Meanwhile, Haugen would once again test positive for drugs and would receive a 9-month suspension. Adding to his troubles, one of his investments, a gas station in San Diego, went bankrupt. With his 3 kids in tow, Haugen decided to leave Las Vegas and return to his native Auburn. Now at 37 years old, he picked up paydays when he could. But Haugen couldn't turn back the clock, losing to fighters like Henry Hughes, Thomas Domgaard, and Paul Nave. Finally in 1999, Haugen would have his last bout at the age of 38. Haugen would later kick his drug habit and spend his days enjoying his children and later his grandchildren. He would also train some fighters in the Washington area. "I ain't rich," Haugen said in a Ring magazine article, "but I'm alive. I can't complain."